It's another celebratory YouTube hop, and today Natalie Dill, also known as Delightfully Crafty on YouTube, is having her 500 YouTube subbies celebration hop. And it is a scrap lift as is traditional, but she explained that the reason behind the thumbnail graphic that she chose was because she calls her style rustic sparkle, I think she said it was, because she loves wood grain and glitter. So I thought it would be fun to up the ante and incorporate some of that in the challenge, well, in the layout. Anyway, I'm also going to use this video as part of the May I Scrap Lift You hop collaboration by Crystal Barrett, also known as Pineapple Papers, because this is after all a scrap lift, but it is predominantly Natalie's celebration. So if you want to find the link up for the May I Scrap Lift You, that'll be way down towards the bottom. It'll still be in the description box, but keep scrolling. Okay, this is what I'm scrap lifting, and you might remember this if you played along with our For the Love of Scrapbooking hop on International Scrapbooking Day. This is what Natalie made, and I actually have this collection of die cuts from Kaisercraft Crafternoon, and I actually pulled them out to use on my International Scrapbooking Day YouTube hop video, but the colours just weren't working for me for that, so I put them back and I will use them for this. But rather than doing a general crafting themed sort of layout, I'm going to focus on the ones that are more sewing related, because it'll be a layout not so much about crafting but about the whole sewing masks for the pandemic type of thing. And I really like how Natalie's put her journaling around the edge. She's used 3 2x2 photos. So speaking of photos, I think my selfie died, seriously. A certain little grey cat was playing with it last, and I think he might have whacked it a little bit too hard on the yellow pass, so it keeps asking for a new ink cartridge, even though I already fed it one. So I'm going to use these as, I guess, placeholders. I mean, it's a shame that you can't really see what's happening there. Masks in various stages of construction for different people over different parts of the pandemic, so I'm going to have to really try hard not to get distracted by this garish yellow. I guess we'll do the best we can, huh? Now, Natalie has used a very subtle, almost white with just tiny little diamond print for the background, and then a bold floral, and then a bit of vellum. So I've got a bit of vellum, and for my bold one I thought I could use maybe one of these. I've got 2 of these. Both have messed up mixed media on the back, but this other side is just fine. And because of that messed up mixed media, it sits up a little bit, and I thought maybe the background would be a good spot for wood grain. Now, I don't have vellum, plain vellum in 12x12, so I'm going to use an A4, and the shorter side is, if it's not 8 inches, it's very nearly, oh no, it's just a smidge over 8 inches. So I'll use that as my starting point. So if I say that one will be 12, this one can be 10, and this one can be 8. It looks more or less like what Natalie has done. I'll cut it like that, see what it looks like, and hope for the best. Now, the stitching part didn't go quite as planned. When I tried to stitch this twice to the background paper, it kept changing the dimensions of it and warping it and creating, at the very last side was always too small no matter what, or too big. So I cut this down to, I took about 1/4 of an inch or a little bit more off each side to get rid of the stitch holes and everything after I unpicked it all. I added a glitter border because after all we were going to use glitter, right? So that's as good a place as any to put it. That's stitched to that, which went just fine. The vellum is stitched to this, which was more or less fine. It is pulling just a tiny bit, but I think that's more how to do with the mixed media on that paper. I mean, that's what was causing all the trouble to begin with, because it wasn't sitting flush. But anyway, I'm going to stick this to that with glue dots. Unfortunately, the stitching isn't showing a massive amount, but never mind. I'll include stitching in a few other little places on the layout, and hopefully you'll get the idea that it's not just some random thing around there. Natalie's done the stitching, and that's one thing that really appealed to me because it sort of ties in with the whole sewing theme that I'm going with for the story. big glue dots. Now I just need to figure out how close to, I do want some of the corners to pull away a little bit, but not too massively. I'll see what I can get away with. Okay, done. Now let's see, photos. Natalie's put in 1, 2, 3, title in the middle. That's fine, title will go in the middle. I do think though that my poor unfortunate photos, they will need a mat. I'm not going to bother matting these because it's a waste of time. Okay, so they're quite square. They're a little bit bigger on one side and a little bit smaller on the other. Now these were taken on different days, so I am toying with the idea of putting like a little tab and just putting the date. I'm pretty sure they were definitely all during lockdown because, okay, so what I'm going to do now is just play around with the embellies and see what bits I want to use and all that kind of thing. I did pull out a bunch of die cuts and I had them sort of more or less sorted into into piles that made sense to me anyway. I definitely want to include a lot of the florally bits. There are die cuts, but there are also stickers. So in addition to these though, I do want to incorporate the pink because there's the pink in this background fabric, and in all three pictures my cutting mat is this pink one. So in order to make it work, I think I do need to bring in some more pink, but I need to be careful that it's sort of warmish pink. I'm just going to use these messed up photos as placeholders until I figure out whether my selfie is dead forever. Some of these go right off the vellum and onto what on mine would be this brown paper. That's good to know because I might need that extra bit of space, and I quite like that anyway. It sort of livens up the grid. Okay, I'll just put it on fast forward because it's going to take me a while to figure out what I want where. This is where we're at. I kind of forgot to put the camera back on, so sorry about that. I got the title down and finished my embelly clusters, and I added a little bit of either straight or zigzag stitching to each of them. I will put some stills on my blog so that you can see the detail, and I'll also add the photos that are meant to go here. What I decided to do is I put a teeny tiny thin border, just a cardstock mat, a white cardstock mat, and so I cut these to size and put them here because the yellow ruined photos were throwing me. So putting something here means that I can just stick the photo on the top. I've tucked under what needs to be tucked under. The only thing that is left to do is I remembered that I wanted Originally I pulled out this glitter paper to cut some like little itty bitty hearts to sprinkle through the layout, and considering that I've got this border, I need probably less of them than I originally anticipated. So I thought maybe if I pick the smallest ones, I thought maybe I could either put one near each photo. The only issue with that, of course, is that I'm not 100% sure, and so it will be just something a little bit extra just for the photos. Or I could just kind of slip one in, add one into the clusters. And I have to do my journaling too, because I've got a heart in most of them, but I think I could still add more, because I mean, you can always add more, can't you? Yeah, maybe 1, 2, 3, because these two hearts are quite obvious. I admit, I'm kind of adding them for the sake of adding them, but that third one anyway. But yeah, these stickers are a tiny bit, they are glittery, but you can't really tell. They're sort of subtle glitter. So now for the journaling. Let me see. I've drafted it out. I'm hoping it will fit. The choices were either a brown pen, but I do have this one. And in a few places I've put in this darker teal colour, and it appears in that background paper as well. So I think it will probably be okay. Yeah, actually that's a really good match, because I know that Natalie used a different coloured journaling pen, and I hardly ever stray away from either brown or black, sometimes grey. So this is going to be a good challenge. Okay. Let me see, where do I start? I think I'll start here and go around. Here we go. Dates on. I did have to abridge my journaling a little bit. It still kind of went, I think that's ruined, but oh well. Let's see. Okay, so overall I still prefer Natalie's. I think she did a much better job, but I did scrap lift her more or less, and I also managed to work in two types of wood grain, because this brown paper is actually a subtle wood grain with the text on the top, and then there's this wood grain, and then there's glitter here, and on that crafty font. So I think that works. Anyway, I will take some stills. Unfortunately they won't have these photos in there. If you do want to see, I mean, they're kind of similar to this, but with different sort of masks in progress and finished and stuff like that. So if you want to see those, head on over to my blog. I'll also take photos of the journaling in a more readable way if you want to see what that says. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please watch all the other girls who are scrap lifting and celebrating the wonderful Natalie Dill, also known as Delightfully Crafty, and also May I Scrap Lift You. So thanks so much for watching. Bye.